This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And normally I try to do a birthday boy who is actively alive so I can give some good context, but I couldn't find anyone on March 9th that I haven't covered in the previous years. But I have actually that are still alive. But this guy is still alive. Well, this guy is dead, has been dead for a long time, but he's an icon in a game that some say is not really a sport, some say it is a sport, but nevertheless, he's there, and he had a film kind of made after him and all that. And there was a lot of weird things going on. So, anyway, his name is Bobby Fischer. A lot of people probably think they don't know about him, and some say, oh, yeah, we do know about him. But anyway, he was born in Chicago on March 9th, 1943. His mother was a U.S. citizen, and her parents were Polish Jews, her parents. So, anyway, it was a weird thing and all that. But at the time of his birth, his mom was homeless and shuttled to different jobs and schools around the country to support her family. And she was a single parent to Bobby and his sister Joan. Regina would move the family to Brooklyn so that she could try to be a nurse and study for a master's degree. There was an investigative report that Bobby Fischer's father was not who he said he was. All that. But it was just an affair and all that. Regardless of that, Bobby and his sister learned how to play chess from instructions from a set bought at a candy store. Fischer would intensely find a book of old chess games and study it. So, anyway, Fischer would spend time with Brooklyn's chess club president Carmine Nigro, Nigro, being a good teacher and all that. Fischer would, after Nigro moved away, would attend the Hawthorne Chess Club with Jack Collins' home. It was more of a mentorship and all that. So he became a young champion by the age of 12, which was amazing all that. He was the youngest ever junior champion at age 13, a record that still stands. He would try to put up some great chess matches and all that. And in 1957 became the youngest ever U.S. Open chess championship, which was pretty impressive. And then in 1958, he was part of he went for the U.S. championship, U.S. national championship. And with 8 wins and 5 ties in his 13 matches, he would win by 1 point. And he was not even 15 yet. He was named International Master. So, anyway, he went to the Soviet Union in 1958 to play chess and all that. To play speed chess. Doing quite well and all that. Fischer had a good plan and all that. He was the youngest to qualify for that, and Fischer then became a grandmaster officially at 15 years and 6 months, which was amazing. What he could do and all that. He would win the 1959 U.S. Championship. Fischer actually dropped out of high school and would subsequently teach himself several foreign languages so he could read foreign chess periodicals. He made a giant commitment to chess and all that. So, anyway, he says, you don't learn anything in school, he said. Anyway. It was weird how Fischer was obsessed with chess like Fischer's mom was obsessed with training in medicine and all that. Yeah. Well, regardless, he played in 8 U.S. championships from 1958 to 1967, while winning 8 of them. He lost the 66 one, because I don't think he competed in 1966. And all that. But regardless, he went to the chess Olympiad. Strangely enough, he would never win any of the chess Olympiads individually, and the U.S. team would win 2 silvers and 2 fours. So that was kind of awkward and all that. Regardless of that, he would try things and all that. He had some success, but you know, he accused the Soviets of collusion. When he didn't do so well in the candidates tournament in Venezuela, he asserted in an SI article that 3 of the 5 Soviet players had pre-arranged an agreement to tie their games against each other to conserve their energy for playing against Fischer. A lot of people thought this was actually correct. Fischer would state he would never again compete in the candidates tournament because the format made it impossible for a non-Soviet to win. However, the Chess Federation in 1962 did say there would be a radical reform of the playoff system, replacing the candidates tournament with a format of one-on-one knockout matches. So, in a sense, that, it actually worked. He went through semi-retirement in the 1960s, which was unusual, and all that. So, did what he could. But then by 1965, he came back from his semi-retirement. And at age 23, he would win every match or tournament he completed for the rest of his life. So he knew what he could do. One of the weird things was he was leading an international in Tunisia. He was actually up 8.5 points in the first 10 games. However, he observed the Church of God's 7-day Sabbath, meaning that on Saturday he didn't compete and all that. It was honored by the organizations, but it did deprive Fischer of several rest days. Fischer would forfeit 2 games in protest and later withdraw. There was a lot of communication problems because, Fischer knew little French, and, you're in Tunisia, a country that's known for its French language. So, anyway, he would do another semi-retirement in the late 60s. But in 1970, he would make an effort to be world champion, and his dramatic march made him a household name and made chess front page news for a time. So anyway, he dominated his contemporaries by 1970 and 71 to an extent never seen before or since. Anyway, there was a match between the USSR and the rest of the world in Yugoslavia, and Fischer decided to participate. So, anyway, the Russians did win 20.5 to 19.5. But anyway, Lightning Chess would beat that way, and Fischer would be huge and all that. Anyway, Fischer would play fantastic and all that. He was made to be world number one by 1971, and his results made him a legend. He actually was on the cover of Life magazine, and he would face Boris Spassky. He never lost. He never beaten Spassky. He lost 3 times and tied twice with him. But his subsequent stubbornness recognition was seen in the run-up to his match with Spassky. Fischer wanted to go to Belgrade, while Spassky wanted the match in Iceland, Reykjavik. Anyway, Fischer refused to go to Iceland until the prize fund was increased. A financier donated money, which meant the prize fund was $250,000, or $1.75 million in today's currency. Fischer agreed to play. He actually paid special attention to his physical training and fitness, which was a novel approach to chess players. All that. He developed his tennis skills to a good level and won a swimming pool and all that. He was doing all that. So the match took place in Iceland and had an American broadcast in prime time. Fischer lost the first 2 games in strange fashion because he wanted a pawn grab in an endgame, and second by forfeit because of playing conditions. Fischer actually wanted the next game to be moved to a back room away from the cameras because the presence had upset him. But after that game, it was moved back to the stage and without further incident. Fischer would win 12.5 to 8.5 to become the 11th World Chess Championship. And the Cold War trappings made this match a media sensation and got a lot of front page story and all that. Ideology, this was huge and all that. Bobby Fischer Day was declared in New York once Fischer came back. He had a lot of endorsements. He declined the endorsements worth over $5 million in 1972 currency and $35 million in today's currency. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated with Mark Spitz and was on the Dick Cavett show. Membership in the U.S. Chess Federation had doubled by 1972, and there was a boom for chess and all that. And Fischer, by 1975, was scheduled to defend his title against Anatoly Karpov, who was a major challenger and all that. Fischer had not played any competitive games since his world championship with Spassky. He made 3 demands: that the match continues until one player wins 10, draws not counting, no limit to the total number of games played, and in case of a 99 score, the champion will retain the title. The delegates said yes to the 10-win proposal, but the 2 others, they said no. He was angry and decided to forfeit his world championship title. All that. A lot of people thought the 9-9 clause was unsporting. All that. They didn't have any problems to the total number of games played, but they didn't want the 9-9 scoring all that. So, anyway. Karpov would try to challenge Fischer to matches by 1975, but it was unattainable and all that. It was just like whatever. So after the 1972 World Chess Championships, he actually did not play a competitive game in public for 2 decades. He would play against an MIT computer program in 1977, winning those games. He would move to Los Angeles and associated himself with the Worldwide Church of God. He was actually arrested by a police officer in May 1981, only because he resembled a man who had just committed a robbery in the area. He was released on $1,000 bail and all that. Anyway, so he would stay at home at a Grandmaster night in San Francisco, and then later in the 80s, he actually had a relationship with a German chess player, Petro Stadler, who was put in touch with Fischer by Spassky. So, anyway. So then came the big one. Fischer would emerge after 20 years of isolation to play Spassky in a revenge match of the 20th century in 1992. It took place in Belgrade, despite the fact that there was a UN embargo on the country of Yugoslavia. Such because of the whole Kosovo war thing, that Yugoslavia was booted from the 1992 Euros soccer competition, with Denmark replacing them. So anyway, Fischer actually demanded that the organizers call it the World Chess Championship, although Garry Kasparov was the recognized world champ. Fischer said he was still the true world champion, and that, the outcomes have been prearranged. So the purse for the rematch would be $5 million US, with $3.35 million of that going to the winner. It's still the largest purse for a match in chess history. So, anyway. Fortunately for Fischer, he beat Spassky 10-5 with 15 ties. So, anyway. Fischer did all that. The U.S. Treasury Board did warn Fischer about this match and all that because of the sanctions. And he was not happy with the U.S. federal order, such to the point that the U.S. agency had an executive order to arrest Fischer once he came back to the States. The only problem was he didn't come back to the States. After his 92 match with Spassky, he slid back into relative obscurity, going to Budapest, and allegedly having a relationship with young Hungarian chess master. He would do a lot of things. By 2000, he lived in the Philippines. All that. He was alleged to have a child with a 22-year-old woman named Marilyn Young, but it was denied by DNA. So, anyway. His comments for 9/11 were terrible because he was introduced by a Philippine radio network, and he basically said that he was happy the attacks had happened, expressing his views on U.S. and Israeli foreign policy, saying, "I applaud the act. Look, nobody gets that the U.S. and Israel have been slaughtering the Palestinians for years." He hoped for a military coup d'etat in the U.S. But remember, those are his words, not mine. He was actually detained in Japan because of the whole Yugoslavia affair and all that. So he was held and all that. Bobby Fischer actually illegally married a Japanese woman while in prison. He would find citizenship with Iceland and all that. but he would die of degenerate kidney failure in Reykjavik. But he had a urinary tract blockage, but refused surgery and medication. Regardless, his estate was actually estimated for $2 million and all that. So, anyway. Yeah, the religious affiliation was with the Worldwide Church of God for Saturday Sabbath and all that. And he was known for his anti-Semitism. So, anyway, he made a lot of contributions to chess and all that. Of course, we all know the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer. The film and book was actually based on the life of fellow chess prodigy Joshua Waitzkin. Anyway, yeah, the search for Fischer's successor. Yeah, and he never received any compensation from the film. So anyway, yeah, he was an icon, known for all that. And would invent something called Fischer random chess, also known as chess 970, a chess variant in which the initial position of the pieces is randomized to one of 960 positions. Kind of hurts you, doesn't it? But Bobby Fischer was a chess prodigy, and I know I gave him a lot of time, because Bobby Fischer is great. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond.